with us. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. One more time, part one. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Part two. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Everyone. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Either part. Holy breath and holy name, the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, ease this pain. One more time. Holy breath and holy name, the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, ease this pain. Loosen, loosen. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Good morning and welcome to the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Nicolette Toussaint, your service associate, joined today by service lead Eric Williams. My pronouns are she and her, and I am also hearing impaired. I speak some American Sign Language, and I will be sharing and teaching a few ASL signs today. Today's music is provided by Tad Coriath, Shelley Barnard, and Rex Loker. Today's tech team is Deborah Minch, Paula Zimmerman, and Charlie Morris. Now, as promised, I'm going to teach you to say good morning. So it's two signs. This is good, like you just tasted something yummy. And this is a horizon, and here comes the sun. That's morning. Good morning. Now I invite you to greet your neighbors in this way, and those on Zoom can do the same thing, shifting into gallery mode, and greet each other with the ASL signs. Now, hear our welcome words and let these soak in as you listen. You are all welcome here today in the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes and sizes, gifts and challenges, abilities and disabilities that come together in your uniqueness You are welcome here. In the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways you make your living and the places you are from, you are welcome here. With all the traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here. No matter how long you are away, nor how soon you will return, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. You are invited to join us with a curious mind, a loving heart, and a willing spirit. We welcome you today. If you're new here, we're glad you found us and hope that in this community, whether you're with us in person or virtually, you can experience the warmth and love of this congregation. Please come back a few times to really get to know us. We have many times during the week for social connection and spiritual growth. Those on Zoom can check out the links in the chat to help you get connected. Those here can stop by our welcome table in the foyer. Information is also at the QR code in the back of the hymnal. There is an informal Get Acquainted session in the fellowship hall on the stage after service today. More about that in the announcements later. If you would like an order of service for today on your phone, please scan the QR code that's on your screens or click on the link in your Zoom chat. If you're on Zoom, be sure you have pencil and paper nearby because you will need them towards the end of the service. Also, everyone on Zoom is welcome to stay for conversation when the service ends. The Inquirer session after the service today is about the many opportunities for getting involved in the life of this fellowship. If you are here in person today, you are welcome to join us for coffee hour in the fellowship hall.
I'm Eric Williams, and my pronouns are he, him. If you have a chalice at home, you can light it with me, stating in the chat where you are, as Nicolette lights our chalice here at the fellowship. Please say the words along with me as Nicolette lights our chalice. We light this chalice for the of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. And now I will sing our bowl for a second time to draw you deeper into the present moment and this, our beloved community. Let's follow the sound of the bowl into about a minute of sacred silence. I have to be honest, I am anxious about the coming election. That's not what we're talking about today. I know I'm not alone in that. But for this hour, let this sanctuary be a true place of sanctuary. Let's set our worries aside for this hour and listen to our hearts instead. It's hard to go through life without accumulating regrets. We've all made mistakes. Many of us, I know, carry around a secret little library of shame, regret, and resentment. I know I do. And this is not a free little library either. This one can be quite a costly burden. Yet we hold within us the power to let these burdens go with the cleansing acts of forgiveness, mercy, grace to ourselves and to others. We hope you may leave here today a little lighter, a little freer, a little less burdened. We begin with a poem by Reverend Scott Taylor called Woven Anew. Come.
Come with your joy, your incurable curiosity, your hunger for hope.
But bring too your broken heart, your cracked confidence, your ruptured relationships.
Let this today be a place of repair.
May the words spoken become webbing, weaving again a path back to wisdom, back to forgotten worth, back to a place of peace, now buried by all the striving, worry, and wounds.
May the sounds circling this space sweep you up like a stream whose currents long to carry you home. And may the common breath, so sweetly shared between us, remind you that loneliness eventually lifts, that we are tethered more tightly than sometimes it seems, and that together our hearts can mend and our world can be woven anew.
Come.
Let us begin.
So we have another opportunity to sing together. This is in the gray hymnal, number 100. I've got peace like a river. This is gray hymnal, number 100. And before you rise, I wanted to point out we're going to start with verse 4. I've got pain like an arrow. And then we'll sing verses 1 and 2. So our orders 4, 1, and 2. We're switching this around to, as Nicolette so wonderfully put it earlier, to reflect a recovery trajectory. Please rise and body your spirit. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain
My reflection this morning is called A Ritual of Forgiveness. In 1981, I was a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oakland. At that time, Oakland UU had two co-ministers, the Reverends Rob and Jan Eller Isaacs. Reverend Rob, who came from Jewish roots, wrote the Litany of Atonement that you sang here as a musical refrain a couple weeks ago. That litany was part of Rob's annual service on forgiveness. That service, held around Yom Kippur, would start with the blowing of the shofar, and it would end with the congregation saying the litany, I forgive you, I forgive myself, we begin again in love. I found the ritual beautiful, but excruciating. At the time, I was leaving a marriage, and forgiveness was not a topic I wanted to think about. Having had too many violent males in my life, I was seeking safety. I wanted to build walls, not break them down. The Litany of Atonement is about bringing ourselves into right relationship. As Eric said, we've all made mistakes. We carry burdens of shame and regret. For Jews, the Day of Atonement ritualizes a process of soul searching and forgiveness. It's a day when Jews seek the approval of the Almighty so that their names can be entered into the book of the righteous for another year to come. But in 1981, I was not into forgiveness, not at all. I was in an all-fired rage. It kindled a white-hot heat that fueled my social justice activism. There were darn good reasons I had become involved in the battered women's movement and stopping child abuse. My divorce had forced me to dig up long-buried skeletons to recognize the ways my biological parents had set me up for making disastrous choices, my choices. Still, two close friends kept urging me to find some way to forgive my parents. Both my mother, who had abandoned me at age 10 and then sent a postcard saying she'd gotten remarried, and my father, who had repeatedly beaten my brother and sexually abused me. It wasn't that I wasn't ready to forgive them. I did not want to forgive them. Then, while driving across the Golden Gate Bridge on my way to Reverend Rob's beautiful but excruciating forgiveness service, I heard an NPR interview with an author who had written a book about the same God-forsaken topic. The writer quoted Confucius saying, "When you live for revenge, dig 2 graves. When you live for revenge, dig 2 graves." I wasn't living for revenge exactly, but my anger, in Reverend Rob's words, had made me rigid and inaccessible. It walled off huge chunks of my life. After graduating from CU Boulder, I stayed away from Colorado for more than a decade. I avoided hiking and camping because it reminded me of my father. And I was untouchable. If any male offered me a friendly pat on the shoulder, I would jump away as if snake bit. Still, I didn't want to let my father off the hook. What he had done was not only wrong, it was illegal, a felony under Colorado law. Was there some way to forgive him and still maintain my boundaries? To hold him accountable while reclaiming the parts of myself I had walled off? In her time of turning service on October 6th, Reverend Barbara quoted Lewis Smedes, who has written that forgiving happens in 3 stages. 1, we rediscover the humanity of the person who wronged us. 2, we surrender our right to get even. And 3, we wish that person well. After wrestling with the concept of forgiveness for what seemed forever, I devised a ritual of forgiveness that allowed me to do the 3 things Smead wrote about. One morning, I drove to Lake Merritt early and gathered up a pile of sticks and wood chips, and they didn't seem enough for the task on hand, so I picked up some more, and some more. And when I finally had enough for a small bonfire, I set myself to the task. I picked through the branches, envisioning them as boats. One by one, I placed in the boats the people I needed to forgive. The teenage driver who had recently plowed into my car, totaling my only means of transportation. My soon-to-be ex-husband, who had dodged the divorce summons for months. My biological mother, who had failed to protect me from my father. One by one, I launched a small flotilla of skiffs, each one carrying someone I needed to forgive. As they drifted away, I allowed my regrets to dissolve into the waters. But each time I tried, I could not launch my father's boat. I could not forgive him for what he'd done to my brother. I couldn't forgive him for what he'd done to me, or for refusing to take responsibility for his actions. So I sat by the lake for a long time, thinking about what I knew of his life. Like me, he had lost his biological mother when he was about 11. After she died, he was alone much of the time. Dick's father would have been away at his law practice, and his next youngest brother was 15 years older and already involved in his own independent adult life. When my grandfather remarried, Dick found himself at war with a stepmother who favored her own kids, denied him food, and once locked him in a shed alone in midsummer without water for 3 days. While I could not forgive what my father had done to me, I could forgive that child. I got up again and I dug around for the biggest branch that I could find, and I threw it into the lake and waded in afterward, and I gave it a mighty shove, and I envisioned it as a great galleon carrying a little boy, a lonely little boy. I pushed the branch out in front of me, loaded it with my regrets, gave it another shove, and I launched my father into the waters of forgiveness. From that day forward, it was his ship to sail. As Lewis Smead has written, we do our forgiving alone inside our hearts and minds. What then happens to the people we forgive depends on them.
Each week we remind ourselves of the abundance of our lives and this community by giving half our plate away to those organizations that share our values. Today, the half plate benefits the Boulder County Crop Hunger Walk. It will take place today at 2 p.m. at Cairn Christian Church here in Lafayette. This is the 27th year that this fellowship has participated in this fundraiser to help fight the world hunger crisis, with a portion of the funds going directly to community food share right here in Boulder County. Please direct any questions to Diane Ladd. You can text your donation at the number on the screen, or if you're in the fellowship today, place a donation in the offering plate as it passes. Please give generously as you so often do. As our musical reflection begins, we invite you to reflect upon and write into the chat if you're on Zoom your answer to this question. What do you need to forgive, and for what? For the work of this fellowship, bringing love, reason, forgiveness, and justice to the world. And for the crop walk, we dedicate these offerings. Next, we have the music that is the inspiration for this whole service. At the beginning, it's a song about a young woman who became a Catholic saint after her visions of Mary made Lourdes, France, into a famous pilgrimage destination. But beneath that, there's a universal message of love and forgiveness that touches me every time I hear it. Here's Shelley and Tad with the song of Bernadette.
There was a child named Bernadette. I heard the story long ago. She saw the Queen of Heaven once and kept that vision in her soul. No one believed what she had seen, No one believed what she heard, that there were sorrows to be healed, and mercy, mercy in this world. So many hearts I find broke like yours and mine, torn by what we've done and can't undo. I just wanna hold you. Come on, let me hold you like Bernadette would do. We've been around, we fall, we fly. We mostly fall, we mostly run. And every now and then we try to mend the damage that we've done. Tonight, tonight, I just can't rest. I've got this joy here in my breast, to think that I did not forget that child, that song of Bernadette. So many hearts I find broke like yours and mine, torn by what we've done and can't undo. I just wanna hold you. Won't you let me hold you like Bernadette would do? I just wanna hold you. Come on, let me hold you like Bernadette would do.
Shelley Bernard. Maybe we should just listen to music for the next half hour. Okay. My friends, forgiveness will set us free. That's what I want to say this morning. Forgiveness will set us free. Epic acts of forgiveness, like Nicolette's struggle to forgive her father, and countless smaller acts of forgiveness we make that release us from our burdens gradually, 1 teaspoon at a time. Both the great acts and the smaller ones helped bend the arc of life towards healing. So let's start small with a poem I wrote called Tarnished Silver Regret. I need a prop here. Regret about my father is a dull silver, the color of a tarnished spoon at the back of the drawer. I take out that spoon and slowly begin polishing it, buffing away my years of neglect since his passing. As my hands work the cloth, I recall how he taught me to love nature, the lakes and woods of Michigan. He'd say the woods were his church, and that to be in nature was to be closer to God. He'd also say, If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And to thine own self be true. He lost his own father when he was a boy, so his mother took a sales job at Woolworth's. As a young lieutenant, he hurt his back in an army jeep on bad Italian roads. Pain haunted him for the rest of his life. He wasn't often happy, yet he loved his children and consigned himself to factory work on their behalf, on our behalf. I don't think he ever heard a heartfelt thanks from any of us in return. So I say it now. Thank you, Dad. Now the spoon is polished, and in its shiny bowl, I see myself, an aging man with my father's eyes. In this simple poem, at last I forgive my father for the troubles I don't mention, and I forgive myself for neglecting his memory and for my indifference when I was younger to the sacrifices he made for our family. I do forgive us both. We each were doing the best we could at the time, even if that best left much to be desired. I know I feel more at peace now. Then there are the epic stories of forgiveness I referred to earlier, like when Nelson Mandela was finally released from 27 years of cruel treatment in South African prisons. He famously said, "As I walked out the door to the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." I've read of parents forgiving their child's killer in court. Imagine individual Israelis and Palestinians forgiving each other in the coming years. Such great acts of forgiveness will further bend the arc of life towards healing. And we need it. As Shelley sang so beautifully, so many hearts I find, broke like yours and mine, torn by what we've done and can't undo. I just want to hold you like Bernadette would do. My teacher Ram Dass explains why forgiveness is so essential to spiritual health. He says, every time you close off something with judgment, it's as if you take a bit of energy and you lock it away and you make it unavailable to you. Until pretty soon you're exhausted. You don't have any energy because you're so busy. He continues, I often visualize it as little doors inside your head. You're holding a grudge, and so every time you think of that person, your heart closes down. It's as if you have a little room with a guard at it that doesn't allow you to flow freely. All the no's of life, the no, no, no. It's an emotional no against the world, against the universe, as opposed to yes. It's the judging, non-forgiving no. And it costs more than it's worth. That's the thing. It costs more than it's worth. Even though you're right, your righteousness ultimately starves you to death. He says, righteousness is not liberation. It's known as the golden chain. You're wonderful and you're absolutely right and you're dead. You're dead to the living Spirit. And finally, you want to be free more than you want to be right. And you have to forgive. Is any of this landing? Because I think Ram Dass has a special gift for teaching this stuff. Now let's take all that wisdom about forgiveness and make it about self-forgiveness. It all fits. Every bit of it fits. And it is our journey to let go of the pain that haunts us. Because there are sorrows to be healed and mercy in this world. Perhaps there's someone here this morning who thinks they aren't worthy of forgiveness. Someone like me. And to them I say, well, of course you are, you silly goose. It's in the DNA of our faith. Universalism, meaning universal salvation for a loving God. In these post-Christian days of our faith, we interpret that as salvation in this life, in this moment, by forgiving and awakening. Here's a little story about universalism that illustrates what was meant by universal salvation. I gotta get some water. It was meant by universal salvation. Let's see now. Okay. One of the founders of American Universalism was Hosea Ballou. Is it Ballou? Who preached and traveled around New England in the early 19th century, like 1800. As was customary in that time, he would sometimes stop at farmhouses to ask for lodging for the night. One night he was having a conversation with a host about religion and heaven and hell, which at that time was not that unusual, and he was, after all, a traveling preacher. And the farmer confided that he didn't think his son would make it into heaven. He spent every evening at the tavern, drinking and gambling and neglecting his family. Ballou replied, well, here's what we should do. We'll build a big bonfire on his way home from the tavern, and when your son stumbles by, we'll seize him and throw him on the fire as punishment for his sins. The farmer just looks at Ballou, perhaps regretting giving this weirdo lodging for the night. And he says, what's wrong with you? I would never do that. I love my son. Ballou replied, exactly. And why wouldn't a merciful God feel the same way about all of us, his own children? Everyone is worthy of forgiveness. Now, I can feel our humanists flinching each time I've mentioned God. So maybe one more will send you flying out the doors, but I can't resist. I've got one more. St. John Vianney, another French man, says, our errors are grains of sand beside the great mountain of God's mercy. You are all worthy of a portion of that mercy. Everyone is. So launch your boats of forgiveness like Nicolette did. Launch them into Spirit River that flows mostly unseen through our lives, and feel the rooms open back up in your heart. Feel the burdens ease 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon, 1 cup at a time. Namaste. Oh, me again. Instead of our usual joys and concerns today, we have a simple ceremony. Just as Nicolette launched her boats of forgiveness into Lake Merritt, so we will now use water to cleanse our hearts. Since we're not doing joys and concerns, if you have a need for pastoral prayer, for pastoral care, please contact Reverend Barbara or our lay pastoral care associates. Are any of them here this morning that you could stand up? Any lay pastoral care? Pat? And yes, okay, we got it. So here's what we're doing instead. At each seat in the sanctuary, we've placed a piece of paper for you to write on. There was a silky little paper the size of an index card when you sat down. But this is not normal paper, and upon it you will not write normal things. This paper dissolves in water. We ask you now to write down a burden you carry. Really think about this. Write down a burden you carry. Something you want to forgive in yourself or in others. An old wound, a new trouble, a habit you'd like to be rid of, any burden. As with everything else in this fellowship, this is entirely optional. So if the Spirit moves you, write down your burden, bring it up and place it in this bowl of sacred water, and it will slowly disappear. Let's come up the center aisle and return to our seats via the side aisles. Folks on Zoom, you can do something similar. Write down your burden on a slip of paper, and after the service, burn it to ash without burning down your home. Let's take a couple of minutes to search our hearts, write something down, and bring it prayerfully to this bowl. While Tad plays some more gorgeous music. I didn't get up. waters of life, may our burdens melt away in our hearts as they melt away in this water. And if they are burned to ash, may the spirit of the wind carry them away forever. May we finally learn to be as gentle and forgiving with ourselves as we are to young children. Let us be guided by these thoughts, as powerful now as when they were written in the 12th century by the Christian mystic St. Francis of Assisi. I changed a few words to better fit our faith.
Spirit of life, make me a channel of thy peace. Where there is hatred, may I sow love. Where there is wrong, the spirit of forgiveness.
Where there is discord, harmony. Where there is error, truth.
Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there are shadows, light. Where there is sadness, joy.
Great Spirit, grant that I may not so much seek to be Great Spirit, grant that I may not so much seek to be comforted as to comfort, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in forgiving that we are set free. And now please remain seated for our pastoral hymn, number 1002 in the teal hymnal, Comfort Me.
Please join us in singing. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul. Shine with me. Shine with me. Shine with me. Shine with me, oh my soul. Shine with me. Shine with me. Shine with me, oh my soul. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of actions. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. I invite you to join hands, link arms, or give yourself a hug if you prefer not to touch, as I give the benediction. I can get an elbow in here. It is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in forgiving that we are set free. Blessed be. Please be seated for the announcements and the postlude music. And after that, Eric and I will be near the back doors with Lucy and who else?
And Jeremy Dion.
To give out free hugs.
Free hugs.
To those who need them.
And if you don't, if you're
hug phobic.
If you're, what's the word? Anyway, if you don't want to be hugged because you're worried about your health, which is totally understandable, you can have a kiss, a Hershey's kiss, which we will have in our pockets to give out as required. 4 huggers, no waiting. That's the idea.
Right. So I think I'm supposed to do the announcements, right? Oh, I'll do it. First time up here. Thank you. Newcomers, are you a newcomer to the fellowship? You are invited to join us for coffee hour in the fellowship hall following the service. Meet us up on stage and visit with a few members of the congregation. You are invited to our all-congregation start-up retreat on Saturday, November 2nd from 9 a.m. until noon. Details are in your Connections newsletter on the bulletin board and at the welcome desk in the foyer. Reverend Summer Albayati will lead this covenant conversation between our congregation and our new interim minister to kick off this interim period. Come share food, love, and ideas. Our Inquirer service is a set of small informal group gatherings for visitors and members who would like to know more about the Boulder Valley UU Fellowship. Today, you can learn about the many varied opportunities for getting involved in the life of the fellowship. If you'd like to participate, grab a cup of coffee in the fellowship hall and then come to the front of the sanctuary here at 11:30 a.m. We'll conclude at 12:15. Next week's session will be a question and answer session with our minister, Reverend Barbara Queeman. And finally, Janet Meyer is here with a message about the auction.
Hi, everyone. I am here with my auction co-chair hat on to say that the annual auction is coming up on November 16th. This is one of our most important fundraisers and fundraisers that we have throughout our fellowship year. I really encourage all of you to attend. This year, it is going to be in the afternoon, partly because a lot of folks don't like driving at night, we've learned, and we're going to make it a family-friendly event with games and crafts and items for auction for the younger set. The theme is the Love Boat, in case you haven't heard that. So anyway, I'm excited to tell you that donations are coming in beautiful artwork, challenging puzzles, charming mountain getaways, delicious homemade food. It's time for you to submit your donations. We have probably only 2 more weeks before you, 2 more weeks, I think, for you, 2.5 weeks for you to submit your donations. Think now about what you want to donate. Talk it over with us at the coffee hour if you need help refining your idea. You can find the link to the auction website in the newsletter, or visit us at the table during coffee hour and we can assist you in getting online to sign up. We also need volunteers. This is an event that takes a village to pull off, both in terms of donations, in terms of attendance, but also in terms of volunteers. We really don't want people to be stuck working in the kitchen for 10 hours, people. Okay? So it's up to all of us to put in our time so that doesn't happen. So there will be a link in this coming newsletter, which comes out on Friday, with a link to sign up for volunteer shifts. Please do that. And finally, people under 18 are invited to vote today for the craft project that will be done during this event. So ballots are out close to the family welcome desk down the hall, and vote. Thank you.
Go ahead.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see, no, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. Invite you to sing with me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Oh, stand by me. If the sky looked upon should stumble and fall, all the mountain should crumble by the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me once more. Oh, stand by me. 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 Won't you stand by me? Stand by me.